Wars and rumors of wars. Matthew 24:6-7 says, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. Nation will rise against nation." In Gaza, families huddle together in broken homes, hoping the next strike doesn't hit them. Children stand in long lines for food, and sometimes even those get bombed. Hospitals run out of supplies. Aid workers are forced to choose who to save. Some roads are so dangerous, not even ambulances go anymore. Meanwhile, in Ukraine, winter comes early, but the war never left. Soldiers fight for shattered towns no one can pronounce. Civilians sleep underground, unsure if they'll see morning. Missiles don't ask questions, and the sky is always loud. Then there's Israel and Lebanon. One rocket triggers another. Retaliation brings escalation. Behind every explosion is a tension that's been boiling for decades, now reaching its breaking point. People fear that if this spills over, it won't stop. In Sudan, civil war burns like a forgotten fire. In Kashmir, soldiers march, rifles loaded, borders tight. Yemen's famine grows, while bombs still fall. These aren't isolated tragedies. They're puzzle pieces forming the picture Jesus gave centuries ago. The world is burning, and while some scroll past it, prophecy doesn't sleep. Every war, every rumor, another reminder. The clock is ticking, and the signs are here.
Natural disasters, earthquakes, floods, and famines. In Matthew 24 verse 7, it says, "There will be famines and earthquakes in various places." In Luke 21:11, it says, "Great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places. The ground keeps shaking." In Turkey, buildings crumbled while families slept. Entire neighborhoods gone in seconds. Mothers ran barefoot into the street, screaming names that never answered back. Rescuers dug with bare hands, hoping for breath under the rubble. For many, it never came. In the Philippines, the earth cracked again. People fled churches, schools, and markets. One moment life was normal. The next, the streets swallowed homes. Meanwhile, floods cover the U.S. from coast to coast. Cars float like toys. Highways disappear. In some towns, people live on rooftops, not by choice, but by survival. Water ruins everything, and it never knocks before it comes. But it's not just the storms or the shaking. It's the hunger. In East Africa and Sudan, children cry not from pain, but from emptiness. No rain, no crops, no food. Mothers stare at dust and try to call it dinner. Aid trucks get hijacked before they even arrive. Some places haven't seen a full meal in months. And across the world, shelves grow thinner. Prices rise. Crops fail. Even in wealthy countries, people wonder how long it will last. These aren't random disasters. They're warnings. Birth pangs, just like Jesus said. Each one louder than the last.
Weather extremes and climate collapse. Matthew 24:7-8 says, "There will be various disasters, and all these are the beginning of birth pains." The skies are no longer calm. In America, hurricanes gain speed overnight, hitting land harder than ever before. One storm wiped out entire towns in Florida, homes torn apart like paper, trees flying like missiles. People barely had time to evacuate. Some didn't make it out at all. In Canada and Greece, wildfires burned for months, not forests, cities. Smoke turned the skies orange. Birds fell mid-flight. Even healthy lunch felt like they were breathing ash. In South America, heat waves broke every record. In parts of Brazil, the sun cooked crops before they could grow. People died just walking outside. And in Europe, storms with no warning, hail like fists. Rivers that were dry last year now overflow. Everywhere, weather has become unpredictable and unforgiving. Farmers don't know when to plant anymore. Rains come too late, or too much, or not at all. Entire regions are drying up or flooding out. And when land fails, people move. Climate migration is no longer theory, it's reality. The earth isn't just groaning, it's breaking patterns it's followed for centuries. Jesus called these birth pains, and the contractions are getting closer.
Signs in the heavens, blood moons and eclipses. Luke 21:25 says, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars." The sky is speaking, not in thunder, but in patterns. Next year, a rare sequence of lunar and solar eclipses will unfold. Astronomers call it a tetrad, 4 total lunar eclipses in a row. But for believers, it's more than just shadow and light. One of them, a blood moon, already occurred on March 13 to 14, 2025, aligning with Purim, a Jewish festival tied to survival and on divine reversal. Another eclipse follows on Passover, and then again on Sukkot. These aren't random dates, they're appointed times, Moedim as the Bible calls them, moments when God has shown up before and might again. The last time we saw a similar blood moon pattern was a decade ago, during the 2014 to 2015 tetrad, which many link to prophetic signs over Israel. ISIS was rising, Jerusalem was shaking, and nations were realigning. This time, tensions in Israel are at a boiling point. Enemies circle, prophecies echo louder, and while politicians trade threats, the heavens are marking something. Jesus said we'd see signs above and below, and when the moon turns red and the sun goes dark, it won't just be an astronomical event. It'll be a reminder God's clock is still ticking.
Rising deception and false prophets. Matthew 24:24 says, "For false messiahs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect." Deception doesn't wear horns anymore. It wears a ring light and speaks with confidence. On your screen, a preacher declares he's the final prophet. In another part of the world, a man claims he's Jesus returned, and people believe him. Why? Because he has followers, a live stream, and just enough charisma to sound divine. AI-generated videos show global leaders saying things they never said. Deepfakes preach sermons that never happened, and millions watch, not knowing what's real anymore. In the Middle East and Africa, doomsday cults rise again, pulling in young people hungry for purpose or revenge. Some predict the end down to the date. Others call for blood to hasten it. Even in the West, influencers twist scripture into conspiracies. Some mix New Age rituals with Bible verses. Others talk of hidden knowledge, secret codes, or angel numbers, as if God needed gimmicks to speak. And the scariest part? It feels true. It sounds almost right. But Jesus warned us, even the elect, the serious, the sincere, could be fooled. This isn't just about weird TikToks or cult leaders in robes. It's about a spiritual fog thickening over the world, and only those grounded in truth will see clearly.
Israel and Jerusalem at center of chaos. Luke 21:20 says, "When you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies." Zechariah 12 says, "I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling to all nations." Psalm 83 says, "Come, let us wipe them out as a nation." It's always been about Jerusalem, a city smaller than most capitals, yet the center of the world's storms. Right now, tensions boil. The IDF names its missions after ancient prophecy: Rising Lion, Iron Swords. And across the border, Iran swears revenge, quoting verses of its own. Jerusalem is more than land. It's a symbol, a battlefield, a prophecy. Nations argue over who owns what, but heaven already claimed it. Every square inch of the city bleeds history, and every nation that touches it starts trembling. UN resolutions multiply. Global protests flood the streets. Anti-Semitism is no longer hidden. It's on the rise again, louder, bolder. In Europe, Jewish schools get police protection. In America, synagogues get threats. Online, hate spreads faster than truth. Meanwhile, leaders debate two states, peace treaties, land swaps. But the Bible said, Jerusalem will be a burdensome stone to all who try to lift it. And now, that stone is shifting again. This isn't just politics, it's prophecy unfolding.
Gog-Magog alliances and global conflict alignments. Ezekiel 38:39 says, "Gog of the land of Magog, you will come against my people Israel in the latter days." Some alliances aren't just political, they're prophetic. In Ezekiel 38, God names nations by ancient titles: Magog, Persia, Gomer, Togarmah. Today, scholars and watchmen point to modern names: Russia, Iran, Turkey, three nations that once eyed each other warily, now shaking hands in military drills. Russia bombs Syrian targets just miles from Israel's Golan Heights. Iran funds and arms proxies that surround the Jewish state, Hezbollah in the north, Hamas in the south. Turkey shifts from NATO partner to wildcard, with words and weapons that echo old hostilities. These are not just alliances, they are alignments, the kind Ezekiel saw 2,500 years ago. You will come like a storm, like a cloud covering the land, the prophecy says. And now, warships gather in the Mediterranean, spy drones fly overhead, and northern borders stay tense, quiet,
until they're not. Israel's generals are watching, so are prophecy scholars, because this isn't just about regional power. It's about timing, patterns, names, movements. It's about a global chessboard where ancient players are back wearing new uniforms, but playing the same endgame. The world calls it geopolitics, but Ezekiel saw it for what it really is: Gog and Magog getting into position.
Surveillance, tech control, and digital currency. Daniel 12:4 says, "Knowledge shall increase." Revelation 13:16-17 says, "No one could buy or sell unless he had the mark." The world is being wired faster than anyone expected. In China, over 500 million cameras, powered by facial recognition AI, track nearly every step. The system is literally called Skynet. Points are awarded for good behavior, penalties for the wrong opinions. You jaywalk, they know. You criticize the state, you vanish. But it's not just China anymore. Across Europe, CBDCs, central bank digital currencies, are being tested. In Nigeria, India, and Brazil, they've already launched. No card, no cash, just QR codes. But what happens when permission is required to participate? What happens when buying bread means agreeing to the system? Meanwhile, AI surveillance expands, not just to track criminals, but everyone. Drones monitor borders. Smart cities log faces, patterns, routines. Even your car knows where you go. Even your phone listens when you don't speak. Revelation spoke of a time when no one could buy or sell unless marked. A digital economy, a closed loop, a system with conditions. Today, tech leaders promise efficiency, security, and convenience. But prophecy watchers see the shadows forming. And Daniel was told, "Seal these words until the time of the end. Knowledge shall increase." Knowledge has increased, so has control. The system is being built in plain sight.
Moral decline, lawlessness, and social unrest. Matthew 24:12 says, "Because lawlessness will abound, the love of many will grow cold." 2 Timothy 3:1-5 says, "People will be lovers of themselves, without self-control, despisers of good." The world isn't just breaking, it's unraveling. In major cities, crime surges even in broad daylight. People loot stores like it's sport and walk away laughing. Police hesitate. Leaders argue. Justice has become political. What was once shameful is now celebrated. What was once honored is now mocked. Good is called evil. Evil is paraded as good. Families fracture. Relationships collapse. Identity itself is now a battleground, no longer rooted in truth, but in preference. Social unrest boils across the globe, from Paris to Portland, Tel Aviv to Tehran. Crowds fill the streets, some begging for justice, others just burning it all down. And beneath the noise, bitterness, betrayal, broken trust. Paul warned Timothy, in the last days, perilous times will come. And then he listed what we now see in the headlines: pride, blasphemy, rebellion, brutality. It's not just bad news, it's prophecy in motion. And when love grows cold, a storm always follows.
Revived interest in Ezekiel 38 and Third Temple preparations. Amos 9:11 says, "I will raise up the tabernacle of David which has fallen." Ezekiel 38 says, "Gog and Magog rise against Israel." Daniel 9:27 says, "He shall confirm a covenant, but in the middle cause sacrifice to cease." Something ancient is stirring in Jerusalem. For years it was just theory, prophecy debates, but now blueprints are drawn, stones are carved. The Third Temple isn't just a dream, it's a plan in motion. In Israel, 5 flawless red heifers, a requirement for temple purification, have arrived from Texas. The Temple Institute has recreated sacred vessels. Priests are being trained. Garments are ready. Even the golden menorah stands, gleaming in the open air, waiting, all while tensions over the Temple Mount boil. It's not just a political flashpoint, it's a prophetic fault line. One spark and the world watches. And as these preparations advance, another ancient prophecy reawakens. Ezekiel 38, the war of Gog and Magog. A massive coalition rises in the north, nations already aligning in our day. Russia, Iran, Turkey, enemies of Israel. Drills near the Golan Heights, joint threats spoken aloud. The stage is being set. This isn't coincidence, it's convergence. The Third Temple isn't just
about architecture, it's the countdown to Daniel's 70th week, to the moment when a false peace is brokered and a throne is set where no man belongs. Eyes on Jerusalem, because the clock is ticking and the prophecies are not sleeping.
Rapid increase in knowledge and movement. Daniel 12:4 says, "Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall increase." We are the generation Daniel saw. In his time, writing was done on clay, messages traveled on foot, knowledge was stored in scrolls, and movement was bound by the speed of animals. But now, one click opens every library on Earth. One question, answered by artificial intelligence. One screen, and the world fits in your palm. AI can write, paint, code, translate, and even mimic your voice. Quantum computers process in seconds what used to take years. Children learn more in a week than scholars did in a decade. Knowledge doesn't increase, it explodes. And people? We fly across nations in hours. Mars missions are mapped. Driverless cars roam highways. Even borders mean less as digital nomads move to and fro across continents without leaving their chairs. Trains break records. Ships carry entire cities' worth of cargo. Drones deliver food. The planet is spinning faster, not physically, but mentally. Yet this isn't just progress, it's prophecy. Daniel saw it. He saw a time when knowledge would overflow like a river, uncontainable, and when humanity would become restless, running, flying, searching. We're not just living in an advanced age, we're living in a foretold one, and it's moving faster than we can track.
Persecution of believers and martyrdom. Matthew 24:9 says, "You will be hated by all nations because of me." Revelation 2:10 says, "Be faithful unto death, and I will give you the crown of life." To follow Christ has always carried a cost, but now that cost is rising fast. In some places, Bibles are burned in public. In others, they're smuggled across borders like contraband. House churches meet in whispers. Worship is done in silence, or not at all. Pastors are arrested mid-sermon. Congregations are raided. Crosses are torn from buildings. Some believers vanish, taken in the night and never seen again. In Nigeria, militants strike Christian villages, leaving ashes and grief. In North Korea, owning a Bible could mean execution or a life sentence. In parts of China, facial recognition cameras monitor churches, and state-approved sermons replace the gospel. In India, mobs attack gatherings, fueled by false accusations. And in the West, it's subtler, but spreading. Censorship grows, laws shift, speech tightens, and those who stand firm on Scripture find themselves labeled, canceled, silenced. But none of this is random. Jesus warned, "They will hand you over to be persecuted. You will be hated because of my name." He didn't say if, he said when. Still, the church doesn't fold. It flourishes. History has proven that the blood of the martyrs is the seed of revival. And even as persecution increases, so does the courage. Underground revivals, secret baptisms, bold testimonies in courtrooms and prisons. The fire meant to destroy the church only refines it. We are witnessing it now, and Scripture says it's only the beginning.
Economic collapse and financial instability. Revelation 6:5-6 says, "A quart of wheat for a denarius, and do not harm the oil and wine." First came inflation, then came fear. Grocery bills doubled, rent swallowed paychecks, savings disappeared fast. In some nations, families must now choose food or medicine. In others, parents skip meals just to feed their children. The price of bread? Unbearable. Fuel? A luxury. And jobs? They exist, but barely cover survival. The U.S. national debt has broken past $36 trillion, a number too big to comprehend, but not too big to feel. Interest rates climb, banks tighten, markets tremble, and behind the numbers, real lives are falling apart. Across the globe, farmers are crushed under rising costs, food chains fracture, poverty explodes in regions already strained by war and drought. Millions now live one missed paycheck away from disaster. And in the shadows of all this, a whisper. What if a new system could fix it? A digital currency, a cashless society, a world where buying and selling is easier, but only if you play by the rules. Revelation spoke of this moment. A black horse riding, scales in hand, scarcity, inflation, the rich protected, the poor crushed. Do not harm the oil and wine. The luxuries survive, even as the essentials become rare. We are not watching the collapse of an economy. We are watching the reshaping of the world. and what follows may be even more prophetic than we realize.
Nuclear threat and fearful sights. Luke 21:11 says, "And fearful sights." Joel 2:30-31 says, "I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and billows of smoke." There was a time when the idea of a nuclear war felt distant, a Cold War ghost. But now, it's back, breathing down the neck of the world. North Korea tests missiles like fireworks, each launch louder than the last. Russia threatens nuclear action, its silence more terrifying than its words. The war in Ukraine already bleeds across borders, and one wrong move could spark the unthinkable. In bunkers, leaders whisper strategies. On news screens, diagrams show blast radius. And online, people search, what happens in a nuclear attack? How far is the fallout zone? Can anyone survive? Air raid sirens, missile drills in schools, cities holding breath. The world feels like a matchstick, and someone keeps flicking the lighter. Joel said the sun would darken, that fire would rise, and the sky would bleed. Mushroom clouds fit that picture all too well. And Jesus said there would be fearful sights. We imagined meteors, monsters, sci-fi plagues. But maybe the true fear is a man with a button, a silent countdown, a blinding flash. This isn't fiction. It's tension measured in megatons. And right now, that tension is global. The sword hangs in the sky, and the world is pretending not to look up.
Religion-driven extremist cults and mass ritual suicides. Matthew 24:24 says, "False messiahs and false prophets will appear to deceive, if possible, even the elect." Revelation 13 says, "Worship systems demanding loyalty, even unto death." It starts in shadows, a strange teacher, a twisted prophecy, a promise of escape, but only through death. In parts of the Middle East, young people gather quietly, not for prayer, but for ritual. Bodies are later found with markings, strange writings, and no signs of struggle. It wasn't suicide, it was obedience. The leaders say the end is here, that dying is the way out, that a new Messiah has come, and he demands loyalty through sacrifice. And this isn't isolated. Across the world, doomsday sects are rising. Some wear robes, others live stream. They quote scripture, promise safety, and preach destruction. False prophets don't look like villains anymore. They sound like truth. They promise purpose. They draw the desperate, and they don't let go. Jesus warned us, deception will be so strong, even believers might fall for it. This isn't just extremism, it's spiritual warfare dressed as religion.
Rise of apocalyptic ideologies among elites. End times fascism. Revelation 18 says Babylon the Great, in 1 hour her judgment has come. Isaiah 47 says arrogance of world powers, thinking they'll never fall. It's not just preachers talking about the end anymore. Now it's billionaires, Silicon Valley minds, tech giants, and political elites building bunkers in New Zealand, funding safe zones in deserts and remote islands, buying land not just for peace, but for after the collapse. They speak of extinction-level events like weather forecasts. They're not trying to stop it, they're planning to outlive it. Some call it resilience, others call it prophecy. They quote Revelation, fund Third Temple talk, and mix AI dreams with messianic visions. A fusion of power, tech, and distorted theology, a new kind of end-times empire in the making. This isn't a sci-fi movie, it's real money, real plans, real influence. And while the world scrambles for answers, the elite are building exits. Isaiah called it out. Revelation warned of Babylon, powerful, proud, and blind to its own fall. Now it's taking shape again, not through governments, but through those with power, code, and a God complex.